So, I'm delighted to see you all here. We have come together to celebrate the Nordic Summer University, although we can't be physically in a big session. So we meet locally in a smaller session. And today, I would like us to meet under the banner of the Kiki, which is a small, informal gathering, usually involving lots of alcohol and gossip, which I think are sports that we will excel in. I'll wait for the official cheer, but maybe I could ask someone to read something for us. Maybe it's a bit long.
We can share it.
Yeah, we can actually. So this is part of the proposal, just to remind us why we're here and what we have committed to do. In case we drink too much wine, we may forget. Would you like to start maybe reading something? Maybe the first paragraph?
With pleasure.
Yeah.
Welcome to Royal Kiki. Inspired by the Nordic Summer University's 2020 Summer Sessions theme of pleasure and playfulness in times of crisis, artists and scholars local to Gothenburg gather to present their work in this curative event.
The gathering is modeled on a Kiki, historically an informal social gathering of members from the New York LGBTQ subculture called Bold Culture, a safe space and playground for trying out social roles, gender expression and carnivalesque role reversal.
A Kiki typically consists of a number of people that gather to share gossip and drinks in a playful and extravagant way. Our Kiki aims to provide a heterotopic Decameronian space, similar to and inspired by the Decameron by late medieval Italian author Giovanni Boccaccio.
As a local manifestation of a larger and dispersed ongoing NSU summer session, we come together to present some aspect of our present artistic and/or scholarly work. All the presentations as play entertainment will be documented, and the traces of the event will be shared with the full NSU summer session. Is that the bit?
That's it.
So the last.
Our feedback session is scheduled for the 30th of July at 1900 hours.
And with that, an official welcome to this Kiki. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
I will start, since this, your Royal Highness or Royal Embarrassment, is after all an academic conference with a lengthy quote about, mark my word, a Swedish king from the great historian book about the Nordic people by Olaus Magnus. And that book was actually so heavy I couldn't carry it here, but I have it at home. This reflects what part music could play at the Kiki, at the Swedish medieval court. And here, the quote. There were many who were so artful in using the citern, the fiddle, the lute, and all kinds of string instruments that they, through shifting melodies, could arouse any emotions they wanted in the audience. They could thus give people joy or sorrow, compassion or hate, and they knew how to fill their ears with lust or horror. Yes, verily, they showed that in the strings lived such a power that some of those present lost their minds when hearing it. Once upon a time, there was a skilled fiddler who, in front of King Erik the Ejegod, flattered himself with this gift. The king begged him to play. The fiddler then performed a piece, beginning so solemnly that those present went numb with sadness. Thereupon he played livelier melodies, so the listeners forgot their pain and felt jollier. Indeed, so jolly that they rejoiced loudly and in happiness started performing all sorts of merry and ridiculous movements. At the end, when the tune went all the more fiery, the listeners were inflamed with blind rage and disclosed with shrill screams that they had given up to total madness. The king himself, who was gifted by nature with bodily beauty and muscular strength, caught a sword and slaughtered 4 knights who approached to hold him. At last the king's footmen managed to push him to the ground with a bunch of cushions which they threw at him from all sides, while putting their own lives in peril, whereupon the king was brought back to his senses. To redeem the killings, he went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, but died in Cyprus and was buried along with his wife, who conveniently died at the same time, apparently, as Saxo, the Danish historian, declared. So, my dear friends, as you can see, music has always had an effect on people's body and soul, and might be the reason for its very existence. So the evolutionary scientists say, yes, an evolutionary explanation for music's existence could be that entertaining is an advantage when you then go to mating. It makes you attractive. So you can reproduce your genes, and it can enhance rituals and religious beliefs, and last but not least, a kiki like this. Which leads us to små grodorna. No, not really. I was just kidding. From now on, I'd like you to rise up, and I will start quite dictatorially, if that is a word, to say what kind of movements you shall make. And the thing is that it's going to be simultaneous to the singing that I'm going to make. So you will feel in your bodies the connection between what I sing and what you do with your bodies. So we can start by doing this. And then I say, I rise, I.
You want to sing too?
Yes, please. That was excellent. Very good, all of you. And then I say, I go down.
I go down.
Yes. Once again. I rise.
I rise.
I go down. Yes. Good. And now I'd like to do, we're going to move a bit. So I will say like, I go slowly here.
I go slowly.
Once again.
I go slowly.
Now I run. Now I run. And once again, I go slowly.
I go slowly.
And now I run. Now I run. Good. And from this, I'm going to show you some very familiar tunes. I will not tell you what kind of tunes it is, but I will make movements with them, and you will follow my movements. But we will be still in the beginning. And the lyrics, so it will be more easy for you to follow. The lyrics that we are going to perform together is, I will grab a big chunk. I will grab a big chunk. The music and the movement is, I will grab a big chunk. I will grab a big chunk. Yes, and you see that I will grab a big chunk. It's going to follow. Let's start. Okay, let's do the next one. The lyrics is, all is so stable here. We have already grabbed all we want. All is so stable here. We have already grabbed all we want. The music will be as follows. All is so stable here. We have already grabbed all we want. Come with me and the movements. All is so stable here. We have already grabbed all we want. Yes. And now we come to the next national hymn, as you will notice. And from now on, we will march. The perfect way to start marching is the perfect form. It is the interval that makes you want to move. Bum, bum. It goes like that. So let's just move in a circle, and I will sing different tunes, and when without any special lyrics. And when you notice what kind of tune it is, you sing along with me. Bum, 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 ba-dum, 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 bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, stiga vi mot ljuset från intet aldrig vilja bli. Och vi kan ta den sista striden det här If you want to, you can stand and you can walk on the spot. If you feel tired, you can sit down. But soon I will not tell you what movements to make. I would like you to improvise. And the perfect fourth, it also starts ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Another good song to march to, as well as bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Yes. But with all this in mind that I have just shown you, I'm going to sing a song. And since it's a bit complicated, I'm going to tell you what it's about, so it will be easier for you to improvise it later on. And this song is a duet. It's an Elizabethan duet. It's a 17th century song, and it's a duet between a man and a woman. He is chasing her, and she tries to get away. And he's going to try the classic male abuse things to get her. Try to listen and see where they come and move your bodies accordingly. So, rule number 1, he doesn't take no for an answer. Rule number 2, he sees everything in black and white, which makes kindness or indifference or sadness or fright impossible alternatives for her. 3, he will alternate between begging for her love and accusing her. 4, he will threaten to kill himself and blame her for it. 5, he will threaten her with violence. And it's going to happen fairly quick. And if you don't hear it, just move anyway. I got kind of tired, but I'm catching my breath now. Okay, now I start. Sweet Kate of late ran away and left me play. Abide, I cry, or I die with thy disdain. What a honesty! Lately would I see a man dying, never any yet died of such a fit, neither have I fear of moving. Unkind, I find thy delight is in tormenting. Abide, I cried, or I die with thy consenting. Make no fool of me, men I know have oaths and letters. What the hope obtain? They betray, they feign, and their words are kept at leisure. Words like swords cut my sorry heart in sunder. Her flouts with doubts kept my heart's affection under. What fool is he? No one's course I had enough to become more rough, so I did, oh happy trying. Thank you.
So, welcome. This session will start with a bottle of rum, and it will also end with a bottle of rum. And I will pass this around. We have the task of sharing this bottle together, but also we have to finish it before the session is over. So I will ask you to drink somewhere.
Oh dear. Spännande.
So this story starts with a bottle of rum. And rum is made from leftovers. I mean, what is left over actually in the production of sugar. And this is even more a story about sugar. Caribbean sugar produced by colonial settlers, cultivated by slaves forced from West Africa. So when was this? Yeah, 17 in English, 17th to 19th century, more or less. Sugarcane cultivation, how labor intensive, how strenuous under the burning sun. Sugar, rum, tobacco and cotton to Europe. Weapons, textiles, iron and other industrial products to West Africa. People used as slaves to the Caribbean. It is called the triangular trade. Sweden? Yes. Yes. Sweden was also involved. Maybe I can propose a toast for that Sweden was, no, not a toast, but
A tiny fraction of the West Indian slaves.
we were involved,
We
so,
were also
so we have to take
toxic.
We
so
acknowledge.
we have to take some part of it. Because there was Swedish iron that was used for slave shackles, and there was cane sugar that went to Swedish ports, and especially to Gothenburg and Stockholm. And for about 100 years, Sweden actually owned this island, St. Barthélemy. I think you know about this because it's been noticed or made some attention of it for the last couple of years. And it was actually a slave trade island. And the island was bought from France in exchange for the so-called French quarters, Franska Tomten, that is Packhusplatsen in Gothenburg. And it was in order for the French to get some trade rights in Gothenburg harbor. And we actually owned this island for about 100 years. And those were the days when sugar was exclusive, a status marker. It was about late 18th and 19th century, 1700- och 1800-talet. And only for the wealthy. And in a cookbook from 18th century, it was a cookbook for more refined cookery. The recipes are dripping with sugar. And I read about a sponge cake which included about 800 grams of sugar. That's about 8-9 deciliters of sugar. It's quite a lot. And it was served on this kind of raised tray that is on a foot. It's to sort of mark out the status of the sweetness. So I did an experiment and I tried to make this cake with 8-9 deciliters of sugar. It's a sponge cake, but it reminds something between spettekaka, which is like a sugar sculpture cake or something, and meringue. and sponge cake. And well, it was not really. It didn't turn out what I expected, because I expected it to be really beautiful and fluffy. And then I thought it looked like a disaster. But a friend of mine said it's beautiful. It looks like a crater, a volcano, and that's something quite powerful. So, and after this, I think I finally understand the Swedish word for sponge cake. It's sockerkaka. It's sugar cake. I finally understand why it's called sugar cake. So I will pass this around, and I will ask you. And I couldn't get it out from this form because it's like glue. So you have to fight a little bit to get it out.
You mean now is to serve ourselves?
Yes, this is part of the game here.
Is it?
Oh.
I'll go get a knife.
Yeah, maybe you need a knife. I had a
Prince gets a knife. Maybe 10 knives, because they might break. Because of the hardship of the sponge cake.
I will ask you.
The sugar cake.
Yeah.
I like that it falls, actually.
Yeah. It's,
We all try to stand up, and then we can't do it anymore. Oh, and we have these lovely Japanese plates also. Cecilia?
Yes.
Is it made from flour?
It's gluten-free flour and lactose-free milk or butter.
Could it be some sugar in this? I think so, yes.
There, it's a bit difficult. Here is this golden thing. It's also, and I will remind you that you need to work a little bit on this as well. So, and then I brought some nice spoons. I think I got these when I was baptized or something.
Oh, dopsked!
Yes, this
with a bow on.
is some gift for me when I was baptized. And
To make sure you have a nice and healthy life.
yes,
Full of sugar and
here is my
silver.
baptized spoons.
Fantastic.
Please hand them back.
Would you like to
We
pick up
eat on these Japanese plates.
NSU?
Yeah.
No?
Do they have a history too? So, anyone, could I help you guys, please?
Yes,
Do some cake. Do vara den.
Ja.
it's really nice
Ja.
that you are doing this work. Because while you handle the cakes, I will read you a short text. The I'm not sure if you can take it, but maybe that's nice. Maybe I will wait to read the text. Ja, jag har
Kan byta ta en annan.
It's not too sweet.
fantastic.
Oh, wait.
Well, I don't know. I tasted a little bit of it because it fell apart a bit, so I could take some bits. Well, depends. I mean, it's eatable. It's maybe not the healthiest thing. Nowadays, it wouldn't be served nowadays. It's very out of fashion nowadays because now the status has changed, totally opposite. But I will read you a short text. The title of it is The White Gold, Nordic Crave for Sugar. The crave for sugar, the white gold. Oh, such exclusivity, amusement, pleasure. Oh, such power to build a tower of hard sweetness before everyone's eyes. Such crave for it all. Imagine to get it all. New items. The sugar bowl, the sugar tongue, the sugar can, cake servers, trays. Such sweetness. Reward, courtship, legitimation. We are the modern. We are pioneer spirit. We are transatlantic appetite for discovery. We are progress of civilization. We are the perfect capacity of refinement, and we are craving for more. So this is a sugar poem that I wrote when I was in Trinidad this winter, and it was written to a pile of so-called storytelling cards that was part of a card game that we developed in a research project, and the research project is called Spectral Collaborations. And there are everyone is from performing arts, so we are exploring things through performing arts, but it's about the Nordic involvement in this triangular trade in the Caribbean, especially the slave trade with the Caribbean. So people are from located in Trinidad and in several Nordic countries in this project. And in the poem, I wanted to explore, obviously, the desire for sugar, but also the desire for power. And I wanted to bring in some kind of we identity, as you noticed, from the traders and from the buyers' perspective. And it's a kind of an identity that we never really dealt with in Sweden. And I think no one today wants to deal with it either, because no one wants to be the bad guys. And I think we have to deal with this history. And in this project, Spectral Collaborations, the sea plays an important role. So the sea is something connecting different countries and different people. And the sea is also a path for the ships, and it's also an economic movement across the sea. It's also about what can be hidden in the sea, under the surface. There are sea monsters and sea goddesses in different cultures, and Kraken is actually the symbol of this project. And I will show you, by the way, an example of this card game. Here we have the symbol of the Kraken. So it's a sea monster that takes the shape of a gigantic octopusy, and this animal can drown sailors and seafarers. It's also a plaster. Could be needed. Yes. So in this time of this COVID-19, it has been very difficult to meet up in this project. So we started to talk about recently how can we still work with the project, how can we still communicate even if we are in so many different locations and we can never meet. And we found it difficult because we are people who are used to meeting and doing things live. And I started to think about flaskpost, a message in a bottle. As a kind of a playful way to send out messages or to play around with communication in the project. So I recently just picked up this thread. And we have some work to do. I think I will force this around.
Maybe you should give us
room?
cues for doing shots with you.
Yes, I will do that.
So that...
Yeah. That's not your favorite thing, just it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Send it
On,
around.
yes, on the cakes and everywhere.
Oh, on the cake was good. That's good. I will do that later.
Yeah,
So sending a message in a bottle, it's almost like a cliche. It's almost like a fairy tale. Someone has ended up on a desert island and is sending a message in a bottle as a cry for help. And the bottle is traveling with the help of sea currents. It will drift, perhaps be buried in sand. Maybe it will be crushed against the rocks, or drift ashore somewhere to be found and read. Wikipedia states that this is an unreliable way to send a letter or a message. Can you believe it? And I think this uncertainty is part of the suspense. Will someone find it? And who? Cheers. Cheers. Who will find it?
I will.
Yes.
You will.
You will. There is an interesting asynchronicity involved. Time, place, and relations are connected indirectly. And this kind of drifting, it creates some kind of dizziness, some kind of disorientation. The oldest message in a bottle that is known, at least in the West, is dated June 12, 1886. And it was found in Australia in 2018, so 131 years later. And it was sent from a German ship, Kola, and it was a way to, it was an attempt to investigate the sea currents. So the receiver was asked to reply to the Marine Observatory in Hamburg. Can you please tell it when you find this? So, and experts, they have looked close into this. They think that it was buried for like 129 years or something in sand. And then it went to Australia quite quickly for 1 year or something, and then it was buried in sand, and then someone found it 131 years later. So I think it's quite common that it ends up in a sandy pile somewhere, all these bottles. It turned out actually that thousands of bottles were thrown into the world's oceans as part of a German experiment between 1864 and 1933. Can you believe it? Yes, you can probably believe it. Germans. Skål!
Die Deutschen
Skål,
Leute!
Deutschland.
Skål!
Gesundheit!
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 Yes. All these experiments.
Genau.
A person who sends a message in a bottle has something to say. Har ett ärende, har något på hjärtat. There is not a good translation att ha något på hjärtat into English. I really miss this. It's important because it has to do with the heart and not the mind. You can have something on your mind, but here you have it on your heart. I think it's nice. It's a call for something. You send out a bottle, it's a call for something. It may be something that the sender feel they cannot say in other ways. And the fact that the receiver is unknown may help the sender to write the message or to get the impulse in the first place, because you don't know who will receive it. The distance and the blurriness between writer and receiver create a special freedom. It may be similar to the poet's way of addressing the text out there to the unknown reader. And the receiver very often feels a need to reply upon the message, to act upon it, to maybe to contact the writer or to solve some kind of issue that is on stake. It's like a mystery that needs to be resolved. A message in a bottle can have the character of a curse. And I look at Frei because it's something with a curse that I think about you. Something that you could feel attracted to. It's like the message where two teenage girls, they cursed the girlfriends of their beloved ones. It was found and read by an older man 20 years later. And I quote: deras flickvänner ska då brinna i helvetet. Först ska vi skinnflå dem med varma osthyvlar, deras ögon utstickas, deras ben kapas, deras händer stoppas i en köttkvarn. What's left då? Smiley.
Smile.
Skål!
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 Skål! Thank you.
For the meat grinder.
Skål for the meat
For some
rounder.
jealousy.
För varma
or-
osthyvlar.
And curses.
And curses.
Yes.
Den hade jag inte tänkt skulle användas.
It's
Itchy
something
balls.
powerful and
Itchy
nice
balls.
with curses.
Itchy balls.
It's something nice. Yes. Yeah, I think we have to fill up the glasses. Can you please help me?
It's starting to feel like work, actually, to drink.
cheese slicer. Sorry.
Oh, cheese slicer.
To cheese
Well, we're
slicer,
suffering
to
for our
slice-
sins
yeah,
now.
to slice,
A hot cheese
yeah.
slicer.
Cheese slicer.
It was very
Fill her
cool.
up,
This.
darling.
After the bottle of rum, we will say cheese slicer.
Cheers,
slicer.
To you.
But it can also have the character of a wish. Like when the Swedish sailor Åke, he sent a message in 1955, longing for someone beautiful, far away. Write to me, whoever you are. Någon vacker, långt borta. Skriv till mig, vem du än är. And he got an answer 2 years later from a young woman on Sicily, with whom he corresponded until they married in 1958.
Woohoo! Cheers to that!
Salud!
Salud!
Chin-chin.
And they
Chin-chin.
were
Chin-chin.
married until they died.
Kampai.
And as this story was given some attention, it turned out that there was a wave of young men writing letters and throwing bottles in the water after this event, because they got some attention in newspapers and so on. So there was a lot of people throwing bottles, men throwing bottles, hoping to find a beautiful woman somewhere.
Is it okay if we pass the strawberries around?
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Balance the sweetness.
It's also possible to grab some of the other stuff. When you had this, you can have something nicer now.
It's quite nice.
It's
It's very
very
dense,
nice.
but it's quite nice.
It was nice with the rum, I think.
If you want more, it's
Yes,
there is plenty.
I'll be happy to take some more.
That's very nice with the cream.
I think I will.
I think so
I will
too.
fix it.
I will wait. There is one more cake, so I will save a bit.
Yes. Yes, and we have one more example, and that is that the message can also take the form of a manifestation. And it's like the message in Hungarian that drifted ashore on the island Gotland, it's part of Sweden, where a mother was addressing a lost son. And it was translated from Hungarian into English. My beloved son, let these lines of pain which never go away, all dear mothers who have lost their child, travel the ocean for an eternity, for you will never die. For me, you will live forever, your dear mother. And the woman who found the message was looking for the sender for some time, because there was a name. There was also a picture of the son who passed away. He was 25 when he passed away. And she was looking for this sender for some time, but she never managed to find her. But then she decided to write her own edition. So she wrote a message of her own as a reply to the woman, and she put it in the bottle, and she sent the bottle away in the ocean again. It was quite nice. So it's obvious that we are not alone on this earth. We have to salute for that.
Yeah.
We are not alone on this earth.
We are not alone.
Skål.
Skål.
We are sharing something. Det är botten upp snart som gäller.
Det är du som är boss.
Jag kom till eventen.
Så,
Ja, botten upp.
ja.
This is for the 3 messages that were examples here for messages. We can do a bottom up for them. Yeah, I think I just oopsie.
Something for the earth, Mother Earth.
We're on.
That's
We're
the
not here.
solution. Oops.
Oops.
Okay, skål.
Skål.
For all the people out there and for us. It's difficult to do, but no, it's not.
It's very good.
Snaps
very
is the
strong.
bottom up, but you don't do this.
No.
Should I toss it there? No, there is one there.
Is there one?
You want
So I will come back to that we are not alone on this planet, and there are many bottles out there. And in the song Message in a Bottle by the group Police, I think you heard it because we all heard it. Sting, he sings, I will send an SOS to the world. I hope that someone gets my message in a bottle. Yeah. Message in a bottle, yeah. Oh, message in a bottle, yeah. Walked out this morning, I don't believe what I saw. 100 billion bottles washed up on the shore. Seems I'm not alone in being alone. 100 billion castaways looking for a home. I will send an SOS to the world. So now I would like to invite you to an activity. We will still sit here, but I will ask you to write a message that we should put in this bottle of rum. That's why we have to finish it, because we will put it there. We will write each one message, individual message, but we will put them together and we will put them there. And next year is 2021. What is happening? Do you know what is happening in 2021?
400 years since this city was
founded! 400
Yes.
years anniversary of the city of Gothenburg, and it's something that is, it's talked about some, and especially the commune is planning this very carefully. There are a lot of investments being done in different things in the city. And I think that actually the whole year will be focusing on this celebration. So it will start already in January and it will end in December. So it will be a lot of things going on, making Gothenburg sort of visible as a city in different ways. So I would like you to write a message that takes this upcoming university into account in some way, directly or indirectly. I mean, how can we relate to, how can we embrace the present time we live in, but also the history, and I mean the different aspects of this history that also I was talking about before. How can we take this into account in some way? And you can write this as a wish, or as a curse, or as a manifestation. 3 genres that I defined after reading some of these kind of messages that people have found. It can have any form. It can be very short, it can be longer, but you will get a piece of paper because we also have to get them stuck in there. It can be personal, political, it can be everyday, it can be fantastic, dull, whatever. It can have any form, really.
Should we address anyone?
And you don't have to address the city. I mean, you can just, you don't even have to involve that. But I just want to have that as a background, as something that we have with us.
But is it addressed to someone in the world, and whereabout in the world?
Yes, and it's addressed to an unknown reader, and nobody else would read it except the unknown reader.
Do you plan to actually put it in the sea?
And yes, that's the next thing, is that I have already asked a person who is Henrik Wallgren, who is living on Brännö, and he's an adventurer, some kind of artist director, writer, musician, sailor, etc. He's a lot of things, and he has a ship. It's called Flykt. The name of the ship is Escape in Swedish. And I asked him if he can get the task of bringing this bottle out to the sea, and he will solve it in the way he thinks suitable. And I will tell him about what we are doing today and all the things here. And he will have it as a task to do it in the way he thinks suitable. But he will, he will throw it in the sea. And so nobody else will read it, because that's important, that nobody else will read it except the person who will find it, eventually find it, maybe find it. And then there is one more ingredient, and that is that I want to connect this to the team in Trinidad, or to this research team that is also in some Nordic countries and in Trinidad. And in some way I will give them later on, I will give them a task of receiving a letter or a bottle with a message. And it will be maybe yours, or maybe somebody else's, but they will get some kind of a task, and I will tell them about our activity today, because it's connected. But today we will write the message, and they will get the task of receiving a message. Maybe it will be an imaginary message. So that is the Frei. One thing that is quite funny actually is that I found out that Henrik Wallgren, who will take it out, he's actually appointed as an artistic director for the opening of this kind of festivities, festspel, for this anniversary. So it's quite funny actually that he's also part of that, and I didn't know that when I asked him. Vägen.
Shall we say it also in English?
Yes, we're gathering here, and we're focusing on our message, and we are sort of sending it away now.
Tack. Skål!
Skål!
Oj, där hände jag. This is the last. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
So hi, this is Ami speaking, and we are gathered to perform something for the NSU conference in absence, but at least we are together. And we will now perform a walk together that is the basis for Japanese traditional dance and theater and also martial arts. It has a lot of different meanings, but we have picked today a cross-gender suriashi. That means you are using it if you want to impersonate the woman, and you could be man or woman, man, or woman, woman, man, man, woman, woman. But in the end, you are the woman. So it's a gender fluid practice. So we have already discussed how to do that in the body. But today it has also a specific meaning. So I wanted to provide this walk as a space for absence for the exhausted Kiki enthusiast. We are enthusiastic to be together, but we might be exhausted, so we don't know really how to do that. And how can we find a strategy to not be angry with ourselves if we are exhausted or we want to be alone or absent. So I have some instructions for today's walk, and if you would like to try it with us. And the instructions are: do nothing. Do nothing new. Just be here. Be here. Walk here now. Slowly. And one more thing. Call your grandmothers. So shall we practice together now? Maybe we can gather. So, yeah, the space behind you is equally important as to where you are going now. And let's breathe with each step. One breath, one step.
Tack för turen som vi säger på norska.
Ja.
Hur kändes det för er? Och hvordan
I've never done it with so much rum in my body.
No.
And not for such a short time.
No, and not on a slope, which is
No.
quite different.
Yeah. But that was interesting. I liked the slope.
Yes.
It's not to lean back.
much better.
Yes.
It was really like
Yes, natural. Yes.
Mm.
You feel the space behind you in this way.
Yeah.
Not
I
only
stepped
because
on
of
a lot
the
of bike paths.
yes.
I worried about you. I saw a stick and I kicked it because I was worried that you might hurt yourself.
I think for me, I'm still concentrating on technique. Äntligen någon som säger. Okej, jag kör på engelska. Hello everyone, I'm Prince Frei of Lorenzburg, a fairy tale nation of some 40 hectares in the vicinity of the Swedish city of Karlstad. In 2014, I accidentally became a prince by Freudian typing a nation into existence. The name of my old childhood homes, the city section of Lorenzburg, was butterfingered into Lorenzburg. And this was the first step on a wonderful journey to explore the art, the hobby and the passion of micronationalism.
Oh!
Since I don't come from an elevated background, I realized I had a steep learning curve to climb in order to learn this royal profession. My own background in dancing and performance art helped me somewhat, as did reading ancient self-help books for perplexed monarchs. However, for me, one of the most important keys to doing this work was a flash of inspiration that revealed the theatrical nature of the royal profession. I would like to argue that all monarchs, princes, kings, queens, emperors and popes are in fact performers, albeit unusually well paid. And if so, this subgenre of performance art is a profession that can be studied and perfected by nearly anyone who has a talent, or at least a fascination for pomp and pageantry. Now, knowing that it's not a European phenomenon, and with a caveat that I don't intend to culturally appropriate Japanese culture, I see many similarities between present-day royals and the geisha, the Japanese word meaning art person, or a person who is an artist, or a person who is an art object. Obviously, the traditional figure of the geisha isn't associated with the same power as would a figurehead of a male-oriented elite. However, I think in her aspects as an artificial or constructed role who trains solely for purposes of representation and entertainment, the geisha carries similar qualities to the contemporary monarch. Both are performance expert entertainers. Both have to maintain double aspects of intimacy and distance. Both use props and costumes and ceremony to enhance the dramatic and mysterious effect of their person. I think it may be useful to investigate the figure of the geisha as one possible prince analog, to find clues how to balance the knife's edge of dignity and entertainment, ceremony and abandon, distance and intimacy. And so it gives me no little pleasure to invite you to try out my royal take on some traditional games that are part of the geisha's trade. I hope you shall enjoy these royal pastimes. And cut!
Bravo, bravo.
Absolut.
Och medsång. Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag undrar var du är. Fjärran lockar du min syn.
Okej.
Ja, det var ett miss på mig. Kan
Men på Katarina också faktiskt.
Okej, Frei är...
Jag har en miss.
Men det var en på er var.
En på svar.
Ja,
Okej,
Katarina
ett.
gjorde också.
Först till 3. Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag... Hopp, du ska knappa. Där fick du en tapp.
Okej,
Ja.
2-1.
Okej. Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag undrar var du är. Fjärran lockar du min syn. Jag tappade. Ja, bra.
2-2.
2 lika. En gång till. Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag undrar var du är.
3-2.
Skål. Varsågod.
Ska jag också ta hela?
Så kan vi byta till nästa. Ni får äran att supa prins under bordet. Ja. So basically you get the honor to get the prince super drunk. Tack. Who's next?
I'm next.
Ja.
Vi kör samtidigt.
Ja. 1-1.
Okej.
Ja, nej. Först 3.
Ja, just det, till 3. Okej.
För er egen, for your own safety. Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag undrar var du är. 2-1.
Vem
2-1.
Jag missade en sån.
Blinka lilla stjärna där, hur jag undrar var du är. Fjärran lockar du min syn, lik en lilla antifin. Blinka lilla stjärna där. 2-2.
Måste man knacka? Kan man inte slå?
Nej, man måste knacka. Det var det jag gjorde för mitt misstag.
2-2. Så nu är det utslag.
Ja.
5 and the 6 and the 7.
Vänta. Det är jävligt ont att slå med ringen på.
Det var en miss och du får ta en skål!
Skål! Bra, jag får kämpa.
Bra.
Men jag vill också.
Ja, om du vill. Som...
Heja! Then I can't really...
Jäkla istället, det är lite för långt.
Sup.
Okej, jag vill testa.
Oj, jag hamnar upp och ner på nu. Du ser, det går jättebra det här. Ja, där kom vi.
Ja, inte
Framför glaset!
App. Sup.
Men måste den vara utspänd?
Det säger inte det.
Det var vinnes.
Man kan ju testa någon fulversion här.
Bakom glaset.
Det var mer.
Inte tårna över glaset.
Strulversion. Ja,
Strulversion.
strul. Jag tror inte det var något bättre alls faktiskt.
Det är väldigt bra.
Hade
Det var
kunnat
bra också.
funka.
Har den stängt?
Det var mera bättre.
Men det var kanske lite bättre.
Men det var dramatiskt så det dög alltså. Det måste vi ändå säga.
Man kan inte ändra in här så det är smuts för varje tapp. Nära skjuter inga hjortar, Cecilia.
Det här var mer poetiskt tycker jag då. Ja.
Nu då?
Ska vi ha något lite mer musikaliskt då kanske? Så...
Ja.
Oj!
Ju längre ifrån, ju närmare vi står, desto längre.
Men det är din telefon så vi kan spela här.
Nu händer det. Nu känner jag det.
Ja. Ja.
Och det men det var vackert.
Ja, det var så här,
Det här är ju mer en skönhetsupplevelse.
det är poäng.
Man ska slänga den med.
Ja, 10 poäng.
Jag kanske kan spela från min kommentar.
Är ni med? Ja, vi är med. Vi är med. Ja. Vi bedömer rörelsen i så.
Den var lite stum på slutet.
Den börjar bra men sen. Nej, det gick inte.
Astrid? Oj.
Det här är som jättejobbig kubb.
Walk to the room. Before you come for me, you better sharpen your claws. Tell me, is you mad or not? Your Jimmy Choo killing you. 15 filled with a size 10 chill. Still I'm way too blessed to be stressed. Why pay more when you can pay less? Put your tea in, now you mad.